What's going on? This is Tori Kravitz from She's with the Band. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. First and foremost, the thing that comes into my mind is that I've just asked you what's going on, and I'm genuinely asking, but this is a podcast, so you can't directly respond. But alas, what if there was a way? So if you aren't already, make sure you're following the podcast at SWTB Pod. Send me a message. You have full permission to slide in my DMs. Tell me how your day is going. Or if you're listening to some new music and want to send me some recommendations, always all ears to some new bands. Or if you've been listening to She's with the Band for a while and you're like, Tori, why hasn't my favorite band with a femme member in it been on your podcast yet? Hit me with your opinions. Hit me with your recommendations. Who do you want to see on this podcast? It's just as much mine as it is yours. So I want to make sure everyone's happy. So hope to hear from you soon on our socials. But speaking of people who love discovering new music alongside me, this week's guest is technically brought to you by KNOTFEST host and editor, Corey Westbrook, who messaged me over email. It was just like, hey, I work with Mixi from Stitched Apart. Do you want to have her on She's with the Band soon? And my first reaction was, wait a minute, girl, you're in publicity too? Are we both in PR? Because that's what I do outside of this podcast. And lo and behold, Corey and I have that in common, and she's representing Stitched Apart right now, especially to support their new album, To the Wolves, which came out not too long ago. It is their third album. So yeah, they are kind of like veterans in the rock and metal world right now. They're on their third release, and Stitched Apart has been around for a decade. So it's really overdue that we're talking to Mixi. And my hope is, with her having the experience that she has in the scene, that we could get some really cool stories, some maybe insights, or even some hot takes about the metalcore and hard rock world. She's currently on tour with Escape the Fate. In the past, she's toured with In This Moment and Hailstorm. So all bands I love. It just makes perfect sense to have her on today. So without further ado, sufficiently, she's been hyped up enough. Let's bring on Mixi. And we are joined now by Mixi of Stitched Apart. How are you doing? What's going on in your world?
Awesome. We are actually in New Orleans right now. It is our day off, and so everybody's out getting beignets and coffee right now. So it's gonna be a good day.
Yeah, that sounds like a ton of fun, actually. Wholesome fun as well. Like New Orleans could go one of two ways. You could either have like a really rowdy time, or you could go for the beignets and coffee, which is definitely more my vibe.
Right. Yeah. It's too early for the rowdiness yet, but I think half of the camp is gonna get a little rowdy later.
Uh-oh. So you're out with Escape the Fate right now, is it? I feel like I can't keep track. You're always on the road and doing things.
Yes, it's been such an awesome tour. We're out with Escape the Fate, Drugs, Point North, and Garzi, and everybody is super nice. We've been having a really good time. The fans of these bands are also really cool, so it's been a really fun tour.
That is a really cool lineup as well. I feel like it covers a lot of different genres all at once, which to me is like the theme of metal nowadays anyway.
I feel like it's more interesting to kind of mix up the genres on a tour a little bit, so people come from different parts and different genres. And we all listen to streaming stuff, so we can listen to anything now. It's not like we have to listen to one kind of music. We can only buy this CD. So I think that having a little different dynamic, it's not the same show over and over and over again in one night.
That's what I was thinking when you first said it. I'm like, I remember when I had to buy a CD and was essentially married to that one CD for like a few months because like couldn't buy CDs all the time. So you find your genre that way, really. But at the time it was Britney Spears.
Right.
So things have changed. But you know what I thought was sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, what I thought was really cool going into this interview, I did a little bit of research and I learned a lot that I didn't know about you, one of which being you're a fellow Floridian initially, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm in Orlando. I'm from Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I went to Lake Howe High School and Tuscola Middle School in Winter Park.
That just blew my mind. No, yeah, of course. I like used to live near Tuscaloosa, like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
Okay, so like, yeah, I used to carry my tuba across the street to Tuscola Middle School because I lived like right across from there. So yeah, that's so cool. No, I felt like I've watched your show. I've watched the content that you guys create. I think it's super cool. As you know, I like all your Instagram stuff all the time. Um, but I think like, I don't know, I was like, I need to hang out with these girls.
Well, hey girl, what's up? Anytime you're near your middle or high
Hey,
school again, let
here
me
we go.
know. That's the neighborhood. So
I
yeah,
know,
no.
right?
Well, no one knows exactly where I live. I don't live around there just anymore, so you can't stalk me. But Orlando's still
Yeah.
the hometown. So absolutely. I just thought that was such a small world. Like I don't know many musicians from Florida. And also in the nicest way possible, you do give the LA vibe because the band essentially came up from the LA scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you
We
were
all,
alongside Butcher Babies.
yes, yes. I think we've all kind of inspired each other and created this little like Hollywood movement. I packed up my car, I think it was like 2005, and didn't know anybody, moved across the country, ended up in my car for a good year because I didn't really have a place to live. And um, just I just knew that after playing open mic nights over and over and over again in Florida, like 3 times a week, I would go. Nobody would ever come out, like as far as industry goes. So I was like, okay, well, I should probably move on the other side of the country where I've never been and see if this is something I want to do. And obviously, I keep doing it. So we are here now.
Yeah, and you've come a very long way from the open mic nights in Orlando now. I mean, being on the road and like you're on your third album now with To the Wolves coming out. I mean, you've been on quite the journey, I'd say.
Yeah, and what's really cool is every time that it's rough and every time the industry's hard, as you know, anytime that I get like weak and feel like I can't do it, I just hold on a little bit longer and really cool stuff happens like this tour. So it's just the more I hold on and the more I keep going and fighting the good fight, I think the more cool experiences I get out of this life. And that's really all I want is really cool experiences and to see as much as I can.
Yeah, do you find that when you're on the road, you have the time to explore a little bit? Or, I mean, I know today New Orleans, you're saying you're going to go out a little bit later, but like, do you find that you make the time for those experiences, or is the show more of the experience for you?
It's both.
Yeah.
Every day is like it's like a Christmas on the road. Like you don't know what you're going to expect. You don't know what kind of people you're going to meet. Every show we go to, we have like these VIP things that people come that pour their hearts out. Little girls that uh, are so shy, and you can literally help change their perspective by just being present and meeting them and like talking to them and telling them that you go through the same stuff that they do. And obviously the days off are really few and far between on this tour, but the whole camp decided that we were going to all park at this RV park in New Orleans and spend some time together. So yeah, it's always an adventure.
That is amazing. And I love what you just said about the power of being present with those fans. And I think that's so underestimated. Like just the power of presence and like hearing your fans and like giving them that time. Like that's so cool.
100%. And it was weird because like over the last 4 years, I don't usually go out. I wasn't going out to merch for a while because of COVID and all that stuff. And we did a couple tours in the pandemic. So it was like we didn't want to get sick and all that stuff. But this
Right.
tour, I told myself I'm going out to merch after our set and I'm going to talk to people. And it's blown my mind because I hadn't had those interactions for a few years. And just it's gonna age me, but people are like, "Oh, I used to listen to you in high school," and I'm like 20 something now, and I'm like, "Oh God, don't say that ever again."
It's so bad.
But
People have
it's
started saying that to me too. They're like, "Oh, I watched your videos in high school." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I can't be reaching that age now. This is
I
bad."
know I'm still a kid at heart, right?
Right, right. And I think the
Yeah,
music industry, as much as it ages me at a rapid pace, it also keeps me very young. Like it's a little bit of both.
I do feel like maybe it is the industry that we're in because most of my friends that I grew up with in like Lake Howell High School, they all have families and all of like, 9 to 5s and like real jobs and stuff. And I'm still over here being a freaking kid. I don't know if I'll ever grow up, but I don't plan on growing up anytime soon. So here we are.
Hell yeah. That's the spirit. I mean, yeah, like being in a creative field and getting to travel and do all the things you want, like I guess so much of aging is mindset and what you're doing with your life. So I guess we are very lucky
Yeah.
in that way. Um, And you were
Yeah.
talking too
Let's hope
about
we never
how
age.
I know, cheers to that. And you were talking about how it's kind of a tough industry and the way you've been of support to your fans and even just the way you came up in the Hollywood scene and I briefly mentioned butcher babies, but I feel like, and I don't know, because as much as I'm in the industry, I'm not in the same space as you are necessarily, but there seems to be almost like a girls club in a way, because you came up with Butcher Babies, you've toured with Hailstorm, you've toured with In This Moment, and in a way, like, it seems like these bands with women in them kind of stick together in a way, maybe not always touring together, but there's like, I don't know if it's an unspoken camaraderie that I'm seeing. Maybe it is, but I would love to hear just a little more about like what
Yeah.
the support is like with your fellow femmes in metal.
I think that it's a understanding of what we go through, in a male dominated industry, as you probably understand as well. It's like, girls like to be pampered and we like to be clean and we like to have showers and we like to like do our makeup and our hair and like be like guys can do the rough road life like it's nothing. Like I haven't showered in like a week. Ugh. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
no.
think that there is a lack of, so like I think that when another woman sees another woman in the industry and we know what kind of the similar things that each go through, and how it is a very, I hate to say a misogynistic industry. This is going on blabbermouth, but it is, and we just gotta stick together. I think we're stronger together, and I think that the girls that tear each other apart don't end up being part of that because like we're all supposed to support each other and have each other's backs and cheer each other on the sidelines. And so that's
Mhm.
what we try to do. And yeah, lift each other up.
Yeah, I mean, we already go through enough just having to prove ourselves and essentially be better than the men to survive in this industry that like, yeah, there's no room for mean girls. There's no room for anything mean. And I mean,
Mm.
if you don't mind like elaborating on what you've found to be misogynistic from more of a constructive standpoint though, like what we can do better that's like maybe could use a little work if you want to go there.
Oh, shall we? Yeah, I have to watch what I say because it always ends up on blabbermouth, and then I'm like having I have to defend myself constantly because I don't want to just sit there and let people be trolls. But
And that sucks though, that like I didn't even realize until a couple years ago when I started getting into PR that like metal has our own tabloids too. And I feel like sometimes us ladies get really targeted by the tabloids and like these stories that come out. Even I've seen with this podcast sometimes like news articles come out of things that have happened on this podcast. And I'm like, wait. This is a little out of context, or like this is a little bit clickbaity. And it's like that's not what we're here to do. So
yeah,
Blabbermouth, if you're watching this, please be nice. Whatever you do.
uh, it's okay. I don't mind playing back. It's kind of fun, but it is what it is. It's clearly obvious that the amount, if you just look at festival lineups, the majority of them are male. Like about 90% of the bands are male. If you look at radio, there's only maybe 2 or 3 songs with a female on it. And it doesn't just have to do with the stations or the festivals. It's like the people listening are predominantly male. And unfortunately, I guess that's what comes with the aggressive nature of the music. And so I feel like it's my responsibility to bring more women into this world and to show people that there's not, or show women and girls that girls can do it too. Because when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of women rock bands. Like there was, like, No Doubt was close, you had Avril Lavigne, and
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of that at the time that I grew up on. And so I just want to see it 50-50 split.
I
And
mean,
it
and
might
that's the
take a
thing,
long
isn't
time
it?
to get there, but
It's like we're not trying to take
yeah,
over. It's just that
yeah.
50-50 split. Yeah.
No, we don't want to be 5% out of 95%. Like, but I have seen a lot of girls in the crowd at these shows. It's been really adorable. Like Escape the Fates fans are super cute. And when we did the tour within this moment at Hailstorm and New Year's Day, it was almost a 50-50 split in the crowd. So maybe we're doing something. Maybe we're carrying that torch for the women for the next generation. Who knows what the future holds, but watch out, boys, because we're coming at you.
Yes, no, absolutely. And you mentioned like the aggressive nature of the music, which I thought was quite interesting because it's something that I've asked a few times on this podcast. So I'm sorry to anyone who's listened to every episode and I'm a broken record, but like in our own way, women have an aggressive nature. Maybe it's different from the guys, but like we have some fire in us too from our own experiences that is like its own voice in metal that makes us unique, but also heavy.
Yeah, maybe that's what that is because it's almost a different animal that's on the stage. It's like this inner beast that just wants to just make people mosh and go crazy.
Yes. And you know what I love about like the way you're talking about this makes me feel like the music you're releasing at the moment, like with To the Wolves, is so authentic. And I know you've talked about that, like how it is that like inner coming out and that you've had this push and pull from your career over albums 1, 2, and 3 of figuring out, okay, how do we make a record that's going to sell and do well, but also a record that's like pouring your heart out in that way. So what has going into To the Wolves and being like as authentic and visceral as you've been taught you about authenticity in the music industry?
Um, this was just, every album I feel like content wise, I like to sing about human emotion and, with Never Alone, it was a very hopeful moment. There was a lot of hope in what was happening in our lives at the time. We just got signed and all that. With Darkness, I had gone through vocal cord surgery and it was terrifying and I couldn't sing for like months and it was really scary and it's always been an uphill battle and I was scared to push myself on my vocals on that record and then To the Wolves was more like, and we were also a little lost on people telling us what we were supposed to do because our first record did so well at Active Rock. We were supposed to be an active rock band, and this is what the record's supposed to. And I think this record, we had complete control in what we wanted to create. I was talking to Robert from Escape the Fate about it yesterday, and I was just like, no matter what music we make, if people are gonna love it, people are gonna hate it. You're gonna get people that don't like it, and that's whatever. You can't please them all. So please yourself and create the music that you personally want to create. And that's what I mean about authenticity. And that's what I mean about, you know, just being real in these conversations and coming out forward about like my vocal cord stuff, which I kept secret and I kept private for a bit. And just because I didn't want to feel judged, but people are going to judge me anyway. So here it is. And I'm just trying to be as honest, is what I mean by that. When I talk to people like you about what I've been through and why we're here where we're at, and not sugarcoat things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you know, I find it so interesting because there was a period where I thought it was like a total cliche that like labels or industry people tell artists what they have to be. Like I thought that was the thing that happened in like the Lizzie McGuire movie or something, you know, like, but it's crazy to me that there really is still that pressure on artists of like, oh, here's how you have to fit the mold to be on radio or to do this and that. So, I mean, I don't know, like, how do you feel about that at the moment? Or I don't know how you balance that.
I stopped listening.
Well, yeah, I
I
guess you did
always
just say
try.
that.
I just I always try to like to listen and take direction, especially from people that in the industry that have done a lot more than I have and really like soak it up. But then losing yourself in trying to please everyone and listen to everyone is something that I think happens. And that's why I think a lot of stuff ends up sounding the same because, oh, that song did well, we got to make a song like that. And it's like, no, make a song like you, like make what you want to create. And I think I don't know, maybe I'm just being selfish and trying to make the music I like. And I feel like when we make the music that we want to make, we may not be a freaking, arena headlining band by the end of it because we're going so dark and creepy and spooky and ooh. But that's what we like. That's what we want to be or do in this record. So who knows what'll happen next? But for now, this is what we're vibing, you know?
Yeah, no, I asked this question too, and because maybe I just have that tendency of getting too deep with everything and like really looking into things, but I feel like what artists go through with those pressures really relates to anyone. Like, especially when I think of young girls who are like teenagers and trying to find their way, and they're hearing this and that and who they should be, or even just scrolling through Instagram, you get that pressure of who you should be or what you should be. And like, that is just such a great takeaway in such a big picture as well. So thank you for being an example of just staying true to yourself, because like you said, like, that's the best version of the band. At least I think so. And who's to say you can't be in an arena? In this moment, does it?
How are your I mean, in this moment is a very good example of what breaks the glass ceiling and um, does things that are out of the ordinary and still makes it even more successful. And Spirit Box is another great example of women in our genre that you can scream and still like bring that many people to your shows, you know? So, and do it so fast at such a rapid pace. Trying not to cuss.
Ah, dude, you're good. It's not fast.
And
Come on
just like,
now.
I mean, it's really cool to see artists break the mold and not stick to the same cookie cutter formula that has worked in the past. And it's the same with movies. If you look at like how many Spider-Man are there going to be, but they know it sells. So of course it's about money. And yes, it's a business, but that's not why I got into music. You know, I didn't get into music to try to be rich because clearly
I,
that's not happening.
I
But
always joke about that. I'm like, I did not get into music for the money, and I don't know anyone that has.
yeah, so it's for the art. And
It is.
so just gotta remember what our priorities are, you know?
Yeah. And something else I really wanted to talk to you about, because I love this kind of stuff. Anyone who's listened to this podcast enough knows it. But I loved learning about your current self-love journey that you had said that you were on, and exploring meditation and therapy and just really taking care of yourself. Because like you said, it's such a cutthroat industry and it's a hectic life on the road. So I'd love to hear a little more about how that's going.
Oh, it's an uphill battle, girl. Like
Heard.
you know, I didn't even know for the longest time that I didn't love myself. I actually really did not like myself. I hated myself. And it took, you know, just getting really, really down and dark and sad and not being able. I was waking up in the mornings like, another day. Like it was really sad. And so I was like, okay, clearly something is wrong. I need to go and, you know, look in deep and figure out what's going on with me that I can repair, hopefully, because this is not where I want to live. But so I started taking, you know, seeing a therapist and talking to a therapist. I went to another therapist as well because I felt like I needed somebody to just give it to me straight and tell me exactly what I need to hear without sugarcoating anything. And I realized very quickly that I just didn't like myself and I was terrified of the world. And I was living in so much fear and anxiety. And I didn't want to live like that anymore. Like I was scared to just take my dog on walks because I thought someone would steal it. Like that's how
Oh.
bad I was living in fear. And so I did start taking antidepressants, which I'm pretty sure that a lot of musicians, this is a totally different subject. It was something that I was really against for a long time. But as an artist, when you're doing these crazy shows, you have these experiences, this like dopamine and all these euphoric feelings, these amazing experiences that you have. And then you come back home and you're just like, and there's
Uh-huh.
no serotonin and all of those hyper emotional roller coasters that we have on the road and stuff. I think that my serotonin level is just was super low. So I had to start taking those and that's helped a lot. But yeah, it's I work on it a lot and it's still I'm starting to love myself a little bit. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm working on it.
I mean, thank you so much for just even breaking the stigma of these things, because I know a lot of artists who struggle with very similar things. I mean, it's such a unique life, and there's like that stigma of you have to be a tortured artist to make good art, and these things that are all like at play. So thank you for just being like honest and open about it. When I was reading and watching interviews with you, I was like, so I really admired that you've been open about it. And have you found that sharing your story has helped others, or that it's opened up some conversations in that way?
Yeah, I mean, that's that authenticity stuff that I was talking about is like we could hide it and we can hide all our secrets and put the skeletons in the closet and pretend like everything's okay all the time, but it's not the truth for most people. And so I feel like speaking out about it not only helps me just get it out and feel like it's not like holding me down. Like I have this shame and this guilt of feeling this way and taking these medicines and like I'm crazy for going to a therapist, but no, because I want to like make sure my mental health is good. Because it's a dark place if I don't take care of my mental health. And yeah, my brain will beat me up and tell myself the worst things. Nobody could ever be as mean to me as I can be to myself. So I'm aware of that now, and I'm trying to work on that and take compliments. And I know that I'm not the only one. So hopefully, if it helps one person realize that like they're not alone, that's all I can do.
100%. And even being in the public eye adds like a whole other layer to that of always hearing things from other people. And I mean, for a long time I had like imposter syndrome about being in the industry, and you're always comparing yourself to others. Like there's just so much involved that people don't think about when it comes to being involved in music in whatever capacity that is for you, being a vocalist, which probably being a front woman's got to be one of the hardest roles. So like I commend you, and I hope your journey keeps going well, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, imposter syndrome for real. Like I never anywhere I go, even the grocery store, I feel like I do not fit in here. I mean, granted, look at me, but like
But you
everywhere
gotta
I
eat.
go, I always I know. But you know, and as far as comparing ourselves to other people, I used to do that. I used to always want to be something else because I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. But I am learning that I just need to be a better me from what I was before, and and grow because you can never be anyone else. You are only yourself. So find the good stuff and work on those and repair the bad stuff, the stuff that you don't like about yourself, and just try to be better, a better you, and don't compare yourself to others because you are not them.
Fully. Like no one else will ever be me, and I'll never be you. And that's just that. But one thing I
Yep.
learned, which maybe is like a deep cut fact, because I couldn't find this on the internet, but your lovely publicist Corey filled me in. And it must boost the morale a little bit for you, in addition to all the self-love journey you're on, is I learned that you rescue and foster kittens. I would love to know more about that. Like what's going on with when you're home with
Oh
the
yeah.
kittens? Because I wouldn't expect that. I mean, who's to say?
Yeah. I started doing this like in 2015. I ended up in a kitten bottle feeding class because I was bored and I was looking for stuff to do when I quit drinking, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And then I ended up at a kitten shower, and then I ended up with a kitten like 3 days old, and I realized how just fragile these animals are. And I got really passionate about it. I think I've fostered 97 now
Wow.
in the last almost 9 years. Yeah. Because the bottle babies, especially in California and warm climates, the kittens are born constantly. They're all over the place. Their shelters are completely packed. They immediately, like within the day, they'll euthanize the kittens that have to be fed by milk because they don't have the resources if they don't find someone that can foster or a rescue that will take them. So they're euthanizing bottle baby kittens more than they are pit bulls, especially in Southern California. So I have a very big heart for these little tiny babies, and I'm getting really good at growing them and knowing what I need to do medically for them, and um, trying to spread that word as well so that people know how important, well, it's important to me, but that there's a lot that need help and it's not that hard and it's adorable. Like you get to have kittens all the time whenever I'm off tour. So it does help make me happy when I'm not on the road because that's when I get the saddest.
That is so fantastic. So when she told me, she literally just said one line, oh, she rescues and fosters kittens. And I was like, I don't know the extent of this, but I'll ask. And I'm so impressed. Like this really is, I didn't know what an important cause it is. And I've for a long time been outspoken about animal rights and veganism and things like that. So in line with that, as well as like you're saving lives. I mean, that's amazing. Anyone who wants to get involved, is there like a certain organization you work with or anything like that you want to shout out?
So most places, most areas, if you look on Facebook, there's like rescue groups in the areas, or like the shelters. You can usually go to the shelters and see if they allow fosters in your local area. The first place I was working with was in Los Angeles called kittenrescue.org. They're amazing. Best Friends Animal Society. I'm with ARE Rescue now, and we moved out to Riverside County, California. So that's where they are, and they are overwhelmed. There's so much farmland. It's being built as houses, and most of the farms had barn cats and they have babies like crazy. And so they need a lot of help, but anywhere that you can go in your local area, try it out and see if you like it. It's helping an animal and you get to play with kittens.
I don't
So
see a
it's great.
downside to this, to be honest with you. So like, why not? I mean, I'm a little allergic to cats.
Also,
That's the only downside for me
if you
personally,
are,
but yeah, let's go.
but bottle baby kittens, dude, they're hypoallergenic. They don't have the fur that grown-up cats have. Yeah. I don't know when the cutoff date is for that, but I do know I sneak kittens in everywhere and nobody ever has a problem.
Oh my God. You know what? I am willing to risk finding out the cutoff point then. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay, do it.
Let's go. And I feel like I've gotten so off track, but I was so excited to ask you. But I have one more follow-up question to your album, To the Wolves. I really just like, oh, the album's so good. But every album has a deep cut, like a song that like doesn't get as much love as it deserves, but when you find it, it's like amazing. So for you, is there a song that you think deserves all the justice and love that maybe wasn't a single, but is a personal favorite, or you think could be like that favorite deep cut that people should listen to?
I'm gonna go with Taste for Blood on this one. It's our vampire song on the record, and it's kind of a distant cousin to Possess Me, which is one of our singles. It's kind of got an intimate, seductive nature to it, but also dark and creepy, like with vampires. So I don't know. I really like that one, and we had a lot of fun with Merritt, our guitar player, is super he's an industrial guy, so he got to really dive into the
Ooh.
production and all of the I spoke in Latin and we put it backwards, and there's a lot of little Easter eggs throughout the record that we didn't just write the songs, we also like snuck in a little like Immortal, for example, is another one. It's not as much of a deep cut, but it's the heaviest song on the record and it's one of my favorites. And we put like little Marvel quotes like Easter eggs in there just to kind of like I don't know, just sneak stuff in so people see if people would notice.
I love stuff like that, like I am a real nerd for concept albums, and I know that's not what this is, but even just those little details where you could listen to an album a bunch of times, and then at some point it's almost like listening to it for the first time when you find something new like that. So that is really, really sick. And also now I want to listen back and see if I could hear like the Latin and the backwards and like all of these things and the industrial influence. I think that's awesome. So right on.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's actually Into the Wolves. I have a palm ski and we recorded her growl and we like distorted it and slowed it down so it sounds like a T-Rex. And if you listen at the beginning, you'll hear it. And it was really just a
So I need to know now the strategy. How did you get her to growl? Was there like a method or did she just do it?
all you gotta do is play some tug of war and she's like but yeah, if you listen at the very beginning, it sounds like an evil monster thing, but it's just like a little tiny 12-pound palm ski.
This is beyond what I was hoping for as an answer to that question. I have learned the absolute greatest facts about this album. Thank you.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like me. I'm a little Pomsky that wants to be a big giant dinosaur wolf thing. So we all have a soft side and we all have a tough side.
I mean, hey, your screams on the album were pretty ferocious. And I know like that was sort of something that you really reintroduced into this album that you shied away from a little bit. I imagine the vocal surgery had something to do with that, but like you were hitting some good screams. So
Thank
yeah.
you. You know, uh, I was really working on my screams for this record. It was kind of funny. I got myself into trouble because when I learned how to do the low guttural stuff, I learned it in the studio. And that day I couldn't stop doing it. So I was walking around the house. The producer, Mitchell, he was like, "Stop barking." I was like, I had to take two days of vocal rest because I just learned it. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God. It was just so fun. And I'm a little hoarse today, so I'm actually supposed to be resting my voice. But yeah, it was like really fun. And I listened to actually a lot of Motionless in White when I was trying to uh he's got such great dynamics in his screams, and so I was like just screaming along to a lot of Motionless, and so Chris probably has no idea that he was kind of my teacher on my screaming.
I bet you he was a teacher for a lot of people when I really think about it. I mean, yeah, what a voice. And hey, a good teacher to learn from. And
Yeah,
to
I love
wrap
his
up, sorry, to wrap up the episode, I know you've seen him before, so you probably know what's coming. We have our jaw-dropping segment of 4 questions we ask at the end of every interview. So are you ready, Mixi?
sure.
All right. So the first one we got is, what is most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show? Could be one of yours or someone else's.
I don't know if I'm going to go with the most because there's so many, but I did get to crowd surf on an inflatable swan in Kentucky this tour, and I used to crowd surf all the time on like unicorns and things like that. And then I fell, and it was embarrassing. It didn't hurt. It was like Rock on the Range, and it was on the jumbo screen, and so it was super embarrassing. So for like 7 years, I had Sully Erna like filming it, laughing at me like ah. But for a long time, I got scared to go back up, and I finally went back up, and I was so happy I did it just like a week ago, not even a week ago, a couple days ago. So I put that fear aside, and I was just like, I'm back up here.
So what was the show that got you back up? Was there a certain band, certain song? What was the vibe?
I we were playing, and
Oh, okay.
we played Finally Free, and that's usually when I would go out before and crowd surf on it. I just felt like it wasn't as big as Rock of the Range, and it was in Kentucky, so it wasn't going to be a huge. So if I fall, it's not going to be as embarrassing.
Not as much of a
And I just
spectacle
felt
about
it
it.
that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then the venue was allowing it too, so that was good.
We love when that happens. And next one we've got is the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson that you learned from it.
Hmm. Well, you know, at the very beginning, okay, I don't know. I wish I had practiced more guitar. Um, I wish I was more focused on that than I had been because I can play and stuff, but I learned guitar at 15, and I really wish that I had taken it seriously and not just looked at it as a hobby back then, because I would be so much better at this point. And so that's one regret I think that I want other girls to know, pick up that instrument and play it like you mean it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I guess everything does take a lot of practice, but I suppose like I think it's sick that you even play guitar on stage as you do now. And do you find that being on the road like helps you hone the craft a little bit? Or is it just like, all right, we got to play the songs or sticking to the same songs, or do you find the time to practice? Like, how does that work?
I've this tour I only have there's 6 songs, so I only have one song I'm playing on guitar, and it's so easy. It's like four power chords. It's the easiest thing ever. I didn't even practice it honestly before the tour. I was like, okay, and but when I'm up there and we're doing sound check, I'm like doodling around, and so that's like when I get my fingers all warmed up, and I really 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 need to start playing it more because um it's just that's about it. Like we don't really keep them in the RV, and then I jam. I do acoustic stuff at home a lot just to kind of zen out, but that's about it.
Well, hey, love a good power chord. And I feel like no matter what, utmost respect for the like the coordination to even sing and play guitar at all is like a skill in itself. So yeah, that's awesome already.
That's why there's only so many songs I play and sing on, because
It's a
there's
lot.
some like I am not even gonna try Immortal and screaming and playing that one. Like I'm good. I'm good for now. Maybe later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the next one we've got is most jaw-dropping female artist that you would love to work with. Dream collaboration.
Maria Brink,
Oh, let's
100%,
go.
hands down. I absolutely love her so much. She's a celestial being and just a goddess.
I know. I feel like she's just untouchable. Like the one time I interviewed her, I felt like I was walking into a church or something. I was like, oh wow, I'm VIP today. That'd be cool.
Yeah, even on the tour that we did with them, she like I swear she teleported or floated in from a magical cloud. I don't know because I never saw her actually enter the stage. She just appeared there. I swear she's not human. She's got to be like an angelic something. Like I always say that about her. She's just a mystical creature.
And that's the thing, like I think it's fun for people to know from like the outside perspective of like she actually is that way. Every time I've been near the band at all, I'm like, she actually is as mystical as you think. Whoa, I
Mhm.
don't know if that came through. There's crazy lightning outside. Anyways, last one we've got here for you. Most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood. Could be about you or about the band.
Hmm. Oh no. That's a hard one.
Or I don't know if there's comments that you've seen online
Probably,
that you're like, what?
yeah, people probably think I'm a lot more outgoing than I really am, maybe. I don't know, because everybody kind of assumes that I'm a super social butterfly. And then like this tour, for example, it takes me a little while to warm up to a bunch of new people that I don't know. So I like hide in the RV and I'm like, is it safe? Is it safe to go out there and meet new people? Like, like it took me about 2 weeks. Now I'm feeling really comfortable with everybody, but it takes me a little while to like warm up to people. Like fans and stuff, I can go up and be like, I put on this exuding outgoingness, but I literally my social meter goes boop and I have to run back to the RV.
So crazy because I'm very much the same way. Like the what do they call it? Like an extroverted introvert, like somebody who's
Ambivert.
is that what it's called? Now I know.
An ambivert, yeah.
Ambivert. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Mixi, for hopping on the podcast today. This has been really fun, and I'm glad we finally made this happen. I feel like it's been a long time in the making.
Yes, thank you for having me. I love your content. I love your show, and I definitely want a hug in real life one day.
Absolutely. Next time you're in your hometown, you just hit me up. We'll make it happen. Yeah,
Yes,
to everybody who's listening, make sure you check out To the Wolves' latest Stitched Apart album that's out now on tour. Check out the dates, all that. And if you want more She's of the Band episodes every other week here on KNOTFEST.com, make sure you're subscribed or follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. And we'll catch you next time. Bye, y'all.
thank you.